Wildlife park officials in Zimbabwe are racing to find out why nearly 24 elephants have mysteriously died in the country. Now, before we talk more about the story, we want to warn you that the images are graphic and you may find them disturbing. So if it's something you don't want to see, it's probably a good time to look away. But we're going to head over to Johannesburg now, where Debora Patta is standing by to talk a little bit more about what we know. So, Debora, I have to say, I might be one of those people who would have looked away if we weren't conducting this interview. The news about Zimbabwe comes after hundreds of elephants were found dead in neighboring Botswana earlier this year. And I had done a week volunteering with an elephant researcher in Botswana. And to hear that they are losing elephants and they don't know why is completely heartbreaking. Do they believe that the deaths in Botswana and Zimbabwe are linked?
Good morning, Anne-Marie. Absolutely. You're so right. So heartbreaking. As you mentioned earlier this year, we had more than 350 elephants dying in Botswana with no explanation. And now in neighboring Zimbabwe, at last count, as we speak, 22 elephants have died in that country. But in terms of the link between the two, at this stage, it's unclear, but it seems unlikely that they are linked. And there is some positive news from all of this in this tragic situation, if you can even call it positive. In the situation in Botswana, those deaths, that mass die-off, occurred in a very remote area. And so the carcasses of these elephants were actually only found weeks after it happened, which meant it was very difficult to get viable samples from the animals to ascertain what exactly was the cause of their death. In Zimbabwe, however, those carcasses were found very quickly. Scientists and vets rushed to the scene and they were able to get samples immediately. And the labs, one of the best labs, in fact, in the region, is near to where the elephants actually died. So we expect results from that very, very quickly. They've ruled out poaching, unfortunately, and very tragically in Zimbabwe. Poachers often poison elephants deliberately with cyanide for their tusks. That is not the case here. They've also ruled out anthrax. It's a naturally occurring poison that occurs around this time of the year, but it doesn't seem to be that, as the symptoms are very different. It seems to be a hemorrhagic type death. So hopefully those answers will come very quickly.
So in terms of hints, sort of looking at their bodies, they really didn't get much just from looking at them.
They can't. They've got to have this sample testing. And in Botswana, for example, we still don't know what actually happened there. So the fact that they can get these viable samples very quickly really is something very important. Scientists have actually now, in terms of the Botswana situation, whittled it down to two working theories. The elephants have left the area, just like you or I would if there was some dreadful virus attacking people. You know, we know what that's like. We go inside, we hide away, or violence, you flee the area. So the elephants are no longer there. But the two theories that they're working on, the one is that there's some kind of neurotoxin in the algae in the watering hole where the elephants drink from. They had previously ruled this out as a possible cause because no other animals have died. But they've since discovered that actually this neurotoxin attacks one through the olfactory system, and you probably guessed it right away. Elephants and their trunks, of course, they use them to help them drink water, and so they would naturally be far more susceptible to this neurotoxin than any other animal would be. And the other possible cause is a rodent virus known as encephalomyocarditis, and that virus occurs, for example, when there's farmland near to wildlife. There is in this particular instance. They've had a bumper sorghum crop in Zimbabwe, so there'll be a lot of rats around, so that could be another cause. But it seems they're leaning towards the first one, this naturally occurring or human put. For example, farmers could dump pesticides in the water and poison the algae, and that causing the deaths of those elephants.
So then, since they're sort of just looking at a series of theories, what happens in terms of intervention? Can they do anything at this point?
That's a very important question, Anne-Marie, because one might think, well, if it's a naturally occurring poison, one doesn't intervene, but they do intervene where elephants are concerned for a number of reasons. Now, you must understand that, for example, in Botswana, they have a very strong elephant population, 135,000 strong, Zimbabwe, 85,000 strong. So they're not particularly worried about the population because they're strong elephant populations, but they need to get to the cause. Elephants don't just drop dead for no reason. And over 350 in Botswana is a lot of elephants. So they need to understand, is this something that's human-made? So, for example, those farmers dumping pesticides in the water, that would need to be stopped. Is it a naturally occurring substance like anthrax, a poison? That would need to be stopped to stop the elephants from dying. Or even worse, is it something that could threaten humans? Could it spill over and attack livestock and humans? It's very important that they get those answers very quickly. Interestingly enough, this is the season when elephant poisonings do happen. Anthrax occurs naturally, so you do see some elephants dying, but not in the numbers that we saw in Botswana. It's spring here now. Actually, you think it was summer. We seem to have skipped spring, and that's very important because of climate change, because of warming temperatures and global warming, we're seeing a lot hotter summers, and that in itself is a threat amplifier, because what happens is that with warmer climates, there's even more possibility of anthrax deaths and other toxins that could cause elephants to die. So we need to get those answers as quickly as possible so that scientists can stop it from happening and mitigate against future damage and harm to those elephants, Anne-Marie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. You know, they are really incredible creatures, strong family bonds. And so, you know, you remove an animal from a group and you can disrupt the whole group. So I really hope they figure out what's at the bottom of this mystery. Debora, thank you very much.